see what is going to happen here. You can feel the tension, the emotion from both of these players, but at the same time, a feeling of mutual respect.
Yeah, I mean, this is an accomplishment in and of itself to get to this stage. And of course, you're playing against we have two incredible players on both sides of the table. So going to be looking out for that to see if we see those opening hands like Tord was talking about. It's going to be a big deal. Battle VIP Pass wins games.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the opening hand so important for both of these players, both of them really relying on Battle VIP Pass to get their set up rolling, to get their optimal strategies up into play. In that video, we saw Tord talking about, this almost feels like one last step, one last stone for him. The only tournament he has been unable to take down. And, we talk about the GOATs in the Pokemon TCG. Tord is always up there, but there's one person people always compare him to, and that's Jason Klaczynski, 3-time world champion. Tord and Jason are from two different eras. Jason won 3 worlds back in 2006, 2008, and 2013. Tord has won 4 international championships. He's gotten the finals twice. He's gotten top 4 at Worlds, and now finds himself here in the finals of the World Championships. If he gets this win, do we get to call it the undisputed best player of all time?
I mean, I think we're always going to do the LeBron and Jordan over and over again between these players, but I think that this is the one. If you win the World Championships here with the caliber of play that we've seen with all of the players throughout, I mean, you speak about how many people are in those international events that he was winning. That doesn't compare to the size that we saw with Jason's tournaments. They were much smaller back then. So winning those, even though it was a great accomplishment at the time, Tord's doing it on a whole nother level.
Different game, different era. Both players, of course, playing it at the top level. Vance Kelly going to do everything he can to take down Goliath at this point, and that is what this feels like. We see Vance's accomplishments, has had some solid tournament runs, but without a doubt, adding this world's finalist or champion record to this accolades list will be, a big bolster to this resume.
Yeah, this is definitely the one that you want to add to your resume. Even day 1 performance, adding that in and getting through is such a tough feat. So to add to now another Mew VMAX victory would be incredible for Vance. And he's been relying on this deck all year now. Would love to see one more go at it to get through Tord Reklev on the other side. And
his opponent, of course, Tord Reklev, the man who needs no further introduction. 2019 World's Top 4, LAIC champion, NAIC champion, EUIC champion. I think there's an OCIC to throw in there as well.
I think this just speaks to Tord, though. He would rather show that top 4 world championship because that's what's important to him. Yes. That is so big for him. And to get back to this stage, it's everything. It's going to be reliant on that Gardevoir EX. Zacian's cool, but we're going to be looking at Kirlia. It's trade.
It is effectively trade, a card that Tord had plenty of success with back then as well. The Zork GX, of course. Kirlia very reminiscent there, and you can see Tord kind of has strategies over the years that he has liked to come back to. He wants to see a lot of cards. Yes. He wants to build up a large hand size so that he has plenty of options. Vance's deck will do similar things. It's not going to be reliant on hand size as much as it is turbo. Get through the deck, discard cards, draw more cards with Genesect, discard more, draw more, put cards into play, and find the pieces you need for the various combos. Yep. I'm so excited, Kyle. Moments away from kicking off this Masters final match.
Tord, of course, has all the cards in his hands at all times, just drawing, and can make all of those decisions. Maybe 1 or 2 steps in advance. Vance always has the reach to go for those cards, using Genesect to draw up the hand, and then you have to make those in-turn decisions, those minute choices, and that really can be the difference each turn.
The ever-important coin flip. And it looks like Vance has won. Will be choosing to go first. Absolutely an advantage. Even though his deck can attack on the first turn when going second, Tord can't do much on turn 1 going second, so going first, absolutely the strategy Vance wants to go for.
Right, if you're able to attack with the Mew VMAX on the second turn, having those hit points in play, a little nicer than Meloetta or Psychic Leap.
Couple key tech cards we should mention in this matchup. Vance playing the 1 copy of Box of Disaster. Absolutely something that can come up. It is teched for this matchup specifically. And Tord Reklev having 2 reversal energy in this list will make it much easier to reach for one-hit knockouts. And that lost vacuum is also something for Tord that could come into play.
Yeah, we've seen players, they saw at NAIC, there was a lot of back and forth box of disasters sneaking into the mix, and if you can remove that card, you're not going to see your Gardevoir knocked out. In return, your Zacian V may be able to stick around, so you got to be looking out for that card specifically, as it is, it's pretty interesting to see in Gardevoir.
Prize cards going out, an ever important moment here of the game. Vance Kelly has prized that one path to the peak and an Alessa Sparkle, not ideal. Tord prizing a Ralts, not the best, but Mirage Step can make up for it.
Historically, Tord prizing Palpad is never good as well, but I don't think it's going to be as big here.
All in all, feels like a fair fight. Vance with that power tablet prize could definitely matter. You do need to play a bunch of those in order to get a one-hit knockout on a Gardevoir EX that doesn't have any damage counters on it. So much math that's going to have to be tracked here. Power tablets being played on Vance's end. We're going to have Tord Reklev with extra energy cards in play. We're counting by our 3s and 2s here. And it is time. The Masters Finals underway. Vance Kelly with the start.
And what a start it will be. Genesect V there starting things off, the Nest Ball in him, but we did see the Forest Seal Stone, so a good look into what could be a very great start at the World Championships Finals.
Vance going to take a moment to check the prize cards. We see our best players doing this very often, moving all the Pokemon to the front, all the energy cards to the back, try to get as best of a count as you can, figure out what those 6 cards are. What are the important things for Vance to be checking in general, but also just this matchup specifically?
Yeah, when I think about this matchup, of course, you're going to be looking to knock out those Curlias. You want to limit the draw power from Tord, so Boss's Orders is going to be a big one to look out for. If you're able to find those cards back-to-back, chain them together, maybe you can slow down Tord, and he won't burn through his deck in 3 turns.
We see the note-taking, Vance wanting to make sure on the biggest stage, no mistakes are made. You got to take your time. You got to figure things out. No reason to rush at this point. 75 minutes for this 3-game potential set that we have lined up. Vance having that Forest Seal Stone in hand will ensure that he's able to make something happen this turn, but having to use it early always feels a little unfortunate, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you have it in the deck so that you have the opportunity to reach for that, but you'd love to hold on to this resource for maybe that mid-game potential or finding that key Boss's Orders that you need. If it's going to lead to, 2 Pokemon added to your bench on turn 1, that's still fine.
We actually do see Vance shuffling the deck here. It makes me wonder if he feels like he can get a Fusion Strike system for 1, maybe 2 cards in before having to commit to the Forest Seal Stone. If 1 or 2 cards drawn does lead to something like a Battle VIP pass, and you can save this Forest Seal, that would be excellent. And I think that is what we're lining up for. 1 single card drawn. Here we go. Fusion Strike system, drawing a number of cards equal to the number of Fusion Strike Pokemon you have in play. Another Seal Stone.
All right, 1 more try here as we see that Forest Seal Stone played down. Fusion Strike system for 1.
Looking for that VIP pass, unable to find it. Iono is decent on the next turn, potentially depending on what Tord is able to do. And Vance actually choosing to pass the turn. Values holding on to this Forest Seal. What do you make of it? And hold on for a second. Tord Reklev, 2 VIP in this opening hand.
Yep, added 1 right off the top there, and that's going to be a bench filler. That's exactly what Tord wants to see. But yeah, as you mentioned, for Vance, not adding that card in, that means that all 4 Battle VIP Pass in the deck are going to be dead cards. You can maybe get some use out of them with Chrematic, but could be some choppy draws.
Now, the interesting thing here for Tord is if he wants to make use of that Mirage Step Curlia, even though he's got 2 Battle VIP Pass, you can't overfill the bench, really, right? So how should Tord navigate this position? How many Pokemon do you expect to see off the option of 4 that he has?
Yeah, potentially 3 here. You could go with the double Ralts and the Radiant Greninja if you're thinking that you can work in the Mirage Step, but it doesn't always hurt to have that other Ralts down. You don't know if you're going to be holding onto this hand. Your opponent could disrupt you, and maybe you draw into all those Curlias. Cresselias, so having Worlds down, never a bad thing.
Starting the Cresselia is also kind of annoying for Tord. It's not really that good in this matchup. It could come in and maybe, if you get a bunch of damage counters in play, take a knockout on a Meloetta potentially, or an Oricorio to close out the game, but you don't really want to have this in play early. He'd much rather it be pretty much any other basic in his deck besides save for that Zacian.
Yeah, perhaps you work in the Lunar Blast to chip down on a Mew VMAX, but this is not the ideal starter here.
The choice off VIP pass will be that Radiant Greninja and the Ralts. And Tord going with the shuffle here makes me anticipate a potential concealed cards. Wait to see what you draw before you commit to this next VIP.
We'll see what is added from here. You could always just draw into an additional Pokemon, and that may mean that we see a full bench as adding an additional Pokemon and then Battle VIP pass. You get your 2 more. You've got all 5.
There will be concealed cards, ditching that Psychic Energy, allowing Tord to draw 2 off the top, Fog Crystal and a Gardevoir EX. Do see, it looks like a Refinement Curlia in this hand. There is no supporter card here for Tord Reklev at the moment.
Not the draws you're looking for. Of course, Fog Crystal could lead to additional energy down the line. You could draw more cards with Radiant Greninja on a later turn, Refinement for an additional 2, but this turn would be a little slower unless you work this Mew into the mix.
And we do see that Mew brought to the front of the deck. Its excellent Mysterious Tail ability would allow Tord to look at the top 6 cards of the deck and try to find an item card, maybe looking for an opportunity to get a turn 2 Gardevoir EX into play through a rare candy. That is something that there is the potential for. And with a Refinement Curlia in hand, does Tord almost feel like he needs to ditch that option of the Mirage Step? Is it better to not go for that in this line, or with the way this hand has played out?
Yeah, I think you need to just commit to the draws at this point and focus on the refinements, get these Ralts down into play. If you retreat this Cresselia and even don't find the rare candy, finding level ball here would be pretty solid. Fog Crystal as well. You could just get the final Ralts down into play, and you'll be able to draw plenty next turn.
Unfortunately, though, for Tord, Mew is only able to find item cards. So something like Level Ball definitely seems great for the next turn, but it would not be able to find him something like that Professor's Research there. I'm sure he would love to potentially grab something to just see him more cards this turn. He's not going to have that option, though. It's going to be stuck with whatever this hand holds for him.
Considering the Ultra Ball, but likely it would be the Fog Crystal here. You would lose a lot of cards in this hand if you go for it, but this does open up potential for searching through for a different Pokemon. Maybe you could find that Lumineon if we don't already have that.
Yeah, looks like Ultra Ball will be the take. Lumineon V is certainly an option. Its Luminous Sign ability allows you to search the deck for any supporter card, but filling the bench with a Lumineon at this point would be pretty bad. You know, Tord's got 2 support Pokemon in play already in the Mew and Greninja, started the Cresselia. If you only have 2 Ralts in play, that's really not the strategy you want to go for.
Yeah, I think that this is definitely not the following turn. You're just trying to get all these Ralts down to play. You know that your opponent's going to open up a bench space for you on the next turn. They like taking knockouts on the other side.
Absolutely. Tord crossing the fingers that the knockout will be on something that is not a Ralts. Vance not playing something like that block slider Ice Cube that we've seen in these Mew lists, so it wouldn't be an option to target down, or else that would be really nice in a spot like this. Be able to take that pretty easy KO on something. You don't really mind leaving this Mew in play too much, but now it will be the pass. Vance Kelly draws return. It is an Ultra Ball. Could allow him to thin the hand down potentially. It looks like he's holding on to a Mew VMAX, Fusion Strike Energy, and Iono as well.
I think this lines up pretty nicely. You have your energy ready to go. You can evolve this Pokemon, and you're ready to take some knockouts. But you could work in the Iono there, and although Tord's hand isn't the best, you need to get your own setup rolling here.
Vance kind of hinted in our pre-game interview at some potential lines, some potential options that he has in this matchup. You can tell he's prepared. He's thought through the different opportunities that he could have and maybe would take a strategy that's not normal. Do you have any idea what Vance could be keying into? Could it be something like a Psychic Leap play leaving up a one-prizer?
Potentially. It really depends on what you want to go with here. Leaving the prize cards out now doesn't seem like the worst strategy. It's so unlikely that Tord's able to work in anything this early in the game.
Vance is forced to commit this Forest Seal Stone, uses that Star Alchemy V-Star power, and now can search the deck for any single card and add it to the hand. It looked like he drew a couple of VIP pass, maybe wishing those were in the previous hand on the first turn, but for now, I feel like they will likely just be some Ultra Ball fodder.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you want those cards to be at this point in time. Just get rid of them, thin this hand down, and continue to draw. Looks like a little more needs to be done if Genesect V is going to assist in drawing up. It's wild to see on the second turn here. Still just 3 Pokemon in play on the side for Vance.
On Vance's end, is it worth respecting a potential turn 2 knockout from Tord? Do you want to go for that Box of Disaster, or are you trying to save that for later on? That, to me, is a big question here. When does Box of Disaster come into play?
Yeah, I think you have to find the perfect turn for it later in the late stages of the game. If you can get this down onto the Mew VMAX and combine this with perhaps Path to the Peak and Iono, then you have this spot that Tord's in where he not only needs to draw out of a low hand size, but then find the counterplay with that final Lost Vacuum.
Vance attaching another Forest Seal Stone to this Genesect V, not because it's able to be used, but because he no longer wants it in his hand. Just get that out. He does have a Choice Belt in this hand. He could put that on the Mew VMAX. Choice Belt's not really a great card in this matchup. You can use it to KO a Zacian V potentially, but Zacian V is pretty much always going to have a lot of damage on it anyway. And I think Vance is holding off on putting the Choice Belt in play because he wants to leave that tool slot open for the Box of Disasters, potentially.
Yeah, if this Pokemon isn't attacked into, if you see Tord go for an Ultron strategy and targeting down Genesect Vs, then no damage is going to be on this Pokemon.
Not a great draw here. Lost City and a VIP pass. You could see the Lost City come into play, but Lost Zoning the Mew doesn't really do too much at this stage. And Vance also pretty badly needs to find another Mew V.
He's going to play it down anyways because
forced to.
The draw is that important. All 4 Pokemon accessorizing here as we continue to draw up.
Cramomatic could be solid here. A big coin flip incoming. Heads, Vance can search for any card he wants, and tails means he gets nothing. He does thin a card out of his hand, so can draw 2 more with this Genesect. Really hoping to find an out to another Mew V at a minimum. And there it is, Mew V, that 4th card.
Thankfully, adding that down. It was going to be a long shot to see this Mew VMAX removed, but you're playing against Tord Reckless on the other side. You got to be worried about everything.
Mew VMAX able to use Max Miracle, taking the KO on Tord's own Mew. Vance has taken the first prize of this Masters Finals, sending Mew to the Lost Zone thanks to Lost City being in play.
Yeah, Lost City is a great card for this matchup if you're able to target down pieces of the Gardevoir line. If you can remove those Ralts early or the Corellia, then maybe the Super Rod is not going to be nearly as effective finding some late key pieces to continue drawing.
Tord's hand is not that good. He does have a Corellia here to refinement, and he has a Fog Crystal and a Psychic Energy, it looks like, so has the option to shuffle the deck, but probably doesn't want to at this point since he knows there's no supporter on the bottom. We do see the ditch of a VIP pass, finding another Corellia. And this is exactly what Tord wants to do, chain these Corellias together, refinement after refinement, and hopefully find something like an Iono this turn.
Yep, Shining Arcana Gardevoir also added to the hand, so Rare Candy gets a little more important to find. Could continue to draw even more here.
Also having that Mirage Step Corellia. Could we see the interesting play of Mirage Step just for 1 Corellia this turn? He's definitely considering it, and if he's going to do this play, I don't expect to see this other refinement be utilized because he wouldn't want to risk drawing into the other Corellia.
Yep,
he knows it's on the bottom of the deck, right?
Yes,
so he actually could
right.
safely use refinement here.
Yeah.
It was Iono to the bottom on the last turn.
Yeah, you see the Fog Crystal in hand, would like to do that and use the Radiant Grenade, but doesn't want to shuffle the deck.
Right.
So really stuck here, considering how to go about this.
Considering all the options, Tord is, if nothing else, meticulous with this game. We will see Mirage Step being utilized, and now we'll search the deck for that final Corellia. Probably one of the weaker Mirage Steps you could ever see.
Yeah,
I guess literally the weakest Mirage Step you could see.
I mean, you could try and go for 0.
It is a legal attack to announce. And it will be Corellia found, placing it directly onto the bench. Not having to worry about Ralts at all. Corellia is just in play, and that will mean that Pokemon has been in play for a turn, so it can even evolve into one of Tord's pair of Gardevoir on the next turn.
Tord just hiring his replacement there. 1 Corellia in, 1 Corellia likely going to be out, and with the Lost City not being countered, that means that this Pokemon will be removed from play completely. If you are going to lose one Kirlia, though, at least it wasn't refinement.
Yeah, absolutely. It will send that Ralts to the Lost Zone as well, which can definitely have an impact in the late game if you need to super odd one back and then try to play a rare candy into a Gardevoir. A late game play like that is totally something you could line up. Vance now starting off the turn looks like another choice belt in the hand. Really doesn't want to play that since you want to save one of these Mew V to be able to have that Box of Disaster. And while Vance does have Cramomatic in hand, you actually can no longer discard tool cards to Cramomatic. There's been an errata. All tool cards are their own classification. You can no longer ditch that for a Cram.
If thinning is that important, you could still play this card. You have those copies of Lost Vacuum, which you could eventually remove one of these, but it looks like that is going to be the line there.
Yeah, Vance feeling like his hand is kind of clogged. He needs to draw as much as possible. It will just be a Fusion Strike system for only 2 cards, another Cramomatic, and it looks like that Crystal Cave. Not a super good stadium in this matchup. A pretty interesting tech choice for Vance this weekend. Lost Box was very popular. We are going to see Cram getting rid of another Cramomatic. There's the flip, and it's another Tails. 2 Tails for Vance so far in this final match.
Yep, Cram for Cram really hurts when you see the Tails. 2 more cards, hopefully something to get the ball rolling.
Vance has really not had a very powerful start here. He's drawn a decent bit of cards, but nowhere near what you expect to see from the high-octane Mew VMAX deck.
Yeah, you're just looking to burn through the deck at this point. You want to make sure that in the late stages of the game, when your opponent is using Iono, you have the resources available to close out. And it's just clogged right now. The hand is clogged, the deck is clogged, and you're not burning through at this stage.
Vance did draw a Nest Ball. This can get one more Pokemon in play. It does a couple things here. Thins a card out of the hand, but also gets a Pokemon out of the deck and puts another Fusion Strike Pokemon in play, making your Fusion Strike system all the more powerful, effectively playing 1 card, allowing you to draw 2 more.
We will see this Mew V added. This could be the recipient of the Box of Disasters eventually, if we see that, as all of these Pokemon have found tools.
Of course, that's an option. The Lost Vacuum play you mentioned is pretty solid as well, as it thins your hand down in addition to getting rid of the tools that really are not useful in this specific matchup. Vance thinking about maybe some other cards to potentially play from this hand. It will just be the draw on the Genesect. Looks like 2 cards added to this hand once again. It is a Lost Vacuum, so that's a way we could see some cards thinned out on the next turn, but Vance has used all his Fusion Strike systems at this point. There's really nothing else you need to draw.
Yep, Ultra Ball in the hand as well, too, so could find that final Mew VMAX if you'd like to. But this is a great hand to work with on the next turn. You have the boss's orders. The only real thing missing was that double turbo energy, so if Vance can find that next turn, we'll have multiple Pokemon that could start attacking here.
Max Miracle utilized once again, taking the KO, sending Kirlia and Ralts to the Lost Zone toward Reklev. Draws for turn. I believe has that Zacian V now. That's something that can pretty easily come in and 1-hit KO a Mew VMAX. You got to work a little harder if you want to use the Gardevoir, the Shining Arcana Gardevoir, to get the KO. We'll see which way Tord wants to go with it. Drawing 2 off Refinement. It's a Rare Candy and a Level Ball, neither of those being much help at this point. Rare Candy only does you any good if there's a Ralts in play.
Yeah, we need to see a lot more Psychic Energies in the discard pile if you want to see a 1-hit knockout on a Mew VMAX this time around.
True.
Looks like 1 card was found, the Psychic Energy off the Shining Arcana, but chose not to take it, as you would like to continue to use this to burn. Could draw some additional cards with the Radiant Greninja at this stage, and every card matters here.
Tord just thinning at this point. I think hoping to draw into one of the 2 copies of Professor's Research, more than likely in this stage. Just ditch the hand, draw a bunch of cards, and get some Psychic Energies into the discard pile. Now, as Tord, you've got a couple of attackers. The Gardevoir with Shining Arcana and the Brainwave attack, and then you've also got Zacian with its powerful Storm Slash. They're effectively the same attack. They cost the same amount of energy, they both deal 60 base damage, and then 30 more for each Psychic Energy you have attached to the Pokemon. How do you decide which one you want to attack with at any given time? When is it correct to go with the 2 prize Pokemon, and when is it correct to put your potential draw power at risk?
Yeah, occasionally it's about the hit points, but most of the time it's about that reversal energy. If you're able to work that into the mix with the Shining Arcana Gardevoir, it really is that additional reach that you're looking for. With the Zacian, it's going to have to be all those basic Psychic Energies, and you usually don't see that until the late stage of a game.
Tord will need 9 energy on one of those 2 Pokemon in order to pick up the one-hit knockout on a Mew VMAX. Using that Gardevoir, it could be that reversal energy plus 6 more basic psychics, and we're getting to the point where he's kind of close to having at least 6 in the discard pile. It looks like 4 there, maybe 5.
Yeah, I see 4 so far, but of course we got a little bit off the side there. Probably not going to be in reach this turn unless we see an incredible supporter being played and all the cards thrown down. It probably is going to be that Cresselia having to work in the chip damage at this stage of the game, which is not bad. It's some prize cards you're certainly willing to give up at this point. If you can soften this Pokemon up, then it makes it a lot easier to work in the Gardevoir next turn.
Yeah, the thing about this matchup, Vance has to attack a lot. Tord has 1 prize Pokemon and 2 prize Pokemon. Tord actually only has to attack 2 times to win the game. KO 1 Mew VMAX, KO another Mew VMAX. So there is options as well to maybe take some Genesect KOs, something like that, but really if you can go all in on just 2 big VMAX knockouts, I feel like that's the normal strategy.
Especially when you look at what's prized and you see the Palpad there, is you may not have the reach for boss's orders to continue to chain those together. So leave it upon yourself to just reach for the 2 big knockouts, continue to throw away those psychic energies, and you will have the resources there to close out at the end.
Tord ditching another rare candy, finding another psychic energy. Also that Artisan as a counter stadium. There is an important card in this hand that I think Tord is wanting to be mindful of not discarding. He has that Lost Vacuum. He does have Professor's Research in hand, but is Lost Vacuum really something he can afford to discard?
I think that is a key card here. You need to hold on to that, even though you see Vance has all of these Pokemon with tools attached. It easily could be replaced for the Box of Disasters, and that would be a disaster for you.
Tord finding a Psychic Energy off of this Fog Crystal. Could even just line up for the Lunar Blast on Cresselia this turn, dealing 110 damage, set up for that 2-hit knockout. You can attack 3 times, 2-hit KOing 1 Mew, and that's okay still. You do open yourself up to being Psychic Leaped, however.
I was worried you were saying attack with Cresselia 3 times. I don't think it's going to be around that long.
Not quite, not quite. Cresselia not going to be around quite that long. Shining
MVP.
Arcana number 2 coming into play, can draw 2 more cards, adding them directly to the hand. If either of them are a Psychic Energy, Tord would be able to get that extra attachment in play somewhere if he would like.
Yeah, seeing the commitment here of the Shining Arcana Gardevoir almost guarantees we're going to see the Gardevoir EX this turn on that other Kirlia. You can't leave a single Kirlia out there. It would easily get knocked out by a boss's orders. Then you have no reach to get these energies into play in the later turns.
Tord ditching 2 Psychic Energy off this Ultra Ball, thinning out a Gardevoir EX, needs to add that to hand, of course, needing to use that powerful Psychic Embrace ability, really the namesake of this deck. Using this Gardevoir in order to get those extra energy cards into play, it is what makes it so powerful.
Well, Chip, we somehow got here. There's 6 energies in the discard pile. If the reversal energy is found, it's an easy retreat sequence here. If you don't find it off of the draw here, it is going to have to be that Lost Vacuum that's lost to the Professor's Research, but maybe at this stage of the game you go for it.
Is he going to go for this play? Does Tord feel like even if he loses this Vacuum, he's at a point in the game where it may not matter quite as much? That could be the situation, and it seems like it is. Professor's Research will draw 7 cards.
Giddy up, looking for the reversal energy here to get the job done. Line up a big knockout on that Mew VMAX.
He's
not there,
no
triple
reversal.
Iono.
2 cards still to come, however. Does have Gardevoir's Shining Arcana still, and it could come down to that. Tord playing 2 copies of this reversal energy, 1 count higher than we're used to seeing in these Gardevoir lists. Does he find it here? The odds are not too bad. He's drawn 7, effectively 9 with this ability. There's a research and a boss's orders.
Missed here.
Unable to get the reversal.
It's going to have to be the 3 attacks this time around. Cresselia still can work in that chip damage, but that is a huge miss here. Throwing away the Lost Vacuum. And Chip, he's looking at his deck saying, there's like 7 cards left. How'd I miss?
Yeah, I mean, you have to wonder, on this turn, he's seen so many cards, he's discarded so many cards. It was probably pretty decent odds to see either 1 reversal energy or even get 9 psychic energy in the discard pile. It seemed kind of hard with only 3 at the start of this turn, but this deck can see so many cards. Or maybe even hitting a psychic energy off Shining Arcana, that was another option. I think it's going to have to be a 2-hit KO line with this Lunar Blast, Cresselia, maybe even retreating. What does he hit with here?
I mean, you can work in a lot of damage here now with this Gardevoir. I mean, you might as well throw all the energies on there, right?
I mean, if you throw too many, you make it pretty easy for your opponent to Psychic Leap, and that's kind of what I'd be worried about at this point. Take all this damage out of play, effectively erasing a full turn.
That's a great point, Chip. Yeah, we'll see if that comes into play there for Vance on the following turn. Of course, can always copy that attack with the Mew VMAX. We're seeing 7 energies right here. Gonna be short.
Gonna be 270 damage into this Mew VMAX. The colossal 310 hit points, able to allow this Pokemon to hang on. Vance can actually breathe a pretty big sigh of relief here, and that is a massive miss on Tord Reklev's end, and that is going to make Vance feel pretty decent about his position in this game.
Oh, you're using red, okay. Yeah.
Especially with that Zacian being in play now. That is a big piece. The fact that that 2-prize Pokemon that's pretty easy to KO is now down.
Right, you can remove some big threats here. You can also just easily steal those 2 prize cards at any point in the game with a boss's orders. It's just very tempting to just knock out the active here, though.
Vance does have that Box of Disasters as the draw for turn. We'll see if that gets worked in this game, but we might actually be in a situation where it doesn't even matter. If Vance can Psychic Leap and KO this Gardevoir, he goes to 3 prizes. He just needs to take another 1-prize KO, and then he can close out the game on the Zacian V on the bench. Tord does have Collapsed Stadium hanging around, so Vance does need to be a little bit mindful of that. That's an option for Tord to potentially just discard that liability at the end of the game, take away Vance's potential win condition. So should he try to capitalize now, go after the 2 prizes? That is the question, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, those prize cards, if you can take those now, sure, you're going to be 2 prizes away from winning the game, but you still need to have the reach to potentially knock out a Gardevoir EX, or just deal with the 2 threats at hand that you'll see Tord bringing up.
The interesting thing, however, is, I mean, Vance would effectively force Tord to find Reversal Energy, which I guess he should assume is pretty likely. It was kind of unlucky for Tord to not get it in the last turn, so you should probably assume that Tord needs the Reversal Energy or like a hit on the Shining Arcana. Because there's so much damage on the Gardevoir, it can't easily have more energy cards added to it.
Yeah, with the Box of Disasters added to the Mew VMAX, maybe there's a line here where if you can find 1 amplifier, bosses up the Zacian V, take the knockout, then you're just watching Tord have to knock out his own Pokemon there with the Gardevoir into the Box of Disasters.
Vance also could go for a 1-hit knockout on a Gardevoir EX to potentially close out the game, so there is a world where Vance could take out Zacian here and then try to take out Gardevoir EX next turn. That is really difficult to do. You have to play a lot of damage modifiers in one single turn, all 4 of your power tablets if there are no damage counters on the Gardevoir EX, and Vance does know he has prized a power tablet, so something risky. I mean, there's a 50-50 chance if he takes 2 prizes this turn, he would take 1 off of the prize cards, right? And I don't believe he has played one thus far this game.
We'll see if Genesect can give us a little more information here, as 5 cards are going to be added to the hand. If we see all the amplifiers, maybe we see the switch and there's 2 tablets added, it looks like.
That is 3 tablets right there. Full hand of tablets, okay. All of them available. Having double turbo energy as well does open up plays to maybe attack with this Mew VMAX on the bench. Plenty of lines of play for Vance here. Psychic Leap an option, Boss's Orders potentially if the draw is there. It looks like the find was a Mew VMAX, so Vance really not able to do too much this turn. It will be the Psychic Leap. The question here becomes, now that this Mew VMAX is shuffled in, 270 damage effectively removed from play, what does Vance promote?
Well, you have a free retreat there in the Mew V, but you also have another Mew VMAX ready to go in the hand. I don't know if you're going to be holding on to that hand, as Tord has sitting up 6 cards, and Iono is starting to look pretty good. So I don't mind just bringing up a Genesect V and letting those 2 prize cards fall.
Is there a world where you put the VMAX up there with the Box of Disaster on it? If your opponent hits into it, I mean, you get a prize card there, right? And then you go down to just 2 prizes if they attack with a Gardevoir.
Yeah, but I guess losing your only attacker is pretty scary at this stage of the game.
Sure.
So the Iono counterplay in there would really leave this as a tough call.
Vance taking stock of Tord's resources, what has been utilized. Vacuum is in the discard pile. I mean, I honestly would not hate the Box of Disaster Mew VMAX coming up into the active. I think if you were going to do that, maybe Vance should have put the double turbo energy on this Mew V. That actually would have been a pretty decent line of play. Force Tord to really commit. to take the KO or find a boss's orders, something like that, to get around that box.
Right, you'd force the boss's orders from Tord, and that means you get to hold on to the hand that you have, which has all of the gas you need to close out in a match like this.
Tord draws for turn, finding the Super Rod can put back some of these evolution pieces that have hit the discard pile. Thankfully for Tord, they did not get sent to the Lost Zone. No Lost City in play for Vance. It does look like Tord has plenty of Iono in the hand as well. That is something that could be really strong, using that Iono, putting Vance down to just 3 cards.
Yeah, I don't even know if we have time. You see the board state where it's at now. Super Rod may just end up being a great way to add some additional energies back in without damaging yourself. We could see that with the Shining Arcana to continue to draw up. There's some really interesting lines here to play around Box of Disaster.
Concealed card, discarding a Psychic Energy in order to draw 2 cards, does finally find that reversal energy. Lots of plays lined up for Tord. I think, is there one rare candy? The rare candy is in the prizes for Tord, actually. See, I know he's discarded 2. He has one in the prize cards. So, I mean, if he puts back Ralts this turn, takes a rare candy off the prizes, he could get value next turn by rare candying into that Shining Arcana Gardevoir. Let's see what he goes for.
He is eyeing that up there. And even the Curlia, too. This could just be a potential way to draw out of an awkward situation later on if your opponent does use Iono. We did see that Vance shuffled one of those back in with the Pal Pad earlier on.
Pretty solid synergy here for Tord, using Super Rod to place those 3 Pokemon directly back into the deck, and then instantly using Artisan to grab that Ralts, putting it back into play. Still has that Iono. Tord taking a moment to look at the cards that were available in the deck. He knows if he plays Iono, those are the cards he's going to have to work with in his hand. Wasn't too much going on there. We will see the Psychic Embrace placing in damage counter on the Cresselia, retreating it to the bench, and Gardevoir coming to the active. Brainwave incoming. This is a pretty easy knockout, but it is only 2 prizes for Tord. He may still have to get through 2 VMAX Pokemon.
Yep, has the reversal energy. He's going to go for it with the boss's orders.
So he's committing to this play. Box of Disaster will yield a knockout here. Tord holding on to Collapse Stadium. I think we're going to see the Zacian V hit the discard pile.
Yep, that is a prize card you cannot give up at this stage of the game. You're going to lose one of your prizes here with the Gardevoir attacking into the Box of Disaster. Hopefully the hit points of this Gardevoir EX hold up.
He's thinking through it. Artisan was put into play last turn. Debating if it is worthwhile. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me. Get rid of the easy win condition for your opponent. Force them to find a way to KO this Gardevoir. But no, we will see this knockout. Gardevoir goes down toward promoting the Cresselia, and Vance Kelly is going to take a prize card here and will be able to potentially win the game this turn.
Yeah, we know the amplifiers are in hand. You only need 1 if you want to knock out the Zacian V. Mew V is going to evolve into the Mew V Max.
No. Do I draw the
Looks like we are having a discussion at the table with our judges. Maybe just the order of operations here of who promotes a Pokemon first and who gets to take their prize card first. All these things could matter.
That's fine. Okay. All right.
I haven't looked at the compendium in a minute. I'll trust the judges to get the job done there.
Very unique situations. Vance promoting this Genesect, having an escape rope in hand. He does take his prize card. Now drawing for turn. Vance Kelly can go up a game here in the World's Finals if he finds the pieces this turn. All 4 power tablets in this hand. He also has an Ultra Ball as well that can guarantee the Mew VMAX. Vance is going to be able to draw a lot of cards this turn.
Yeah, I mean, with the Oricorio, you can also just play that down onto the board. You can Ultra Ball. You can basically fill the board and draw every card that you have in your deck. We'll just have to see if the ordering's there. Love seeing the Artisan played here. You're not going to search out any Pokemon unless we see Meloetta hanging out in there. But just to see what's going on in there and where the boss's orders are.
Yeah,
it's nice to get an eye on.
It could be okay to just grab the Meloetta, draw a few more cards. I think it depends on if Vance has another Genesect still in the deck, and it is prized, right? So maybe filling the bench here. You know, you've got Oricorio in hand, you've got Meloetta in the deck. Put those 2 Pokemon in play. You're going to draw a bunch with the Fusion Strike system.
Yeah, I mean, that's a full burn of the hand.
See how many bosses are in the deck.
I think it's go time.
I think there are 2 boss's orders in the deck, so 2 outs immediately for Vance Kelly to try to close this game out. Does still need an energy card, however, let's not forget, and it needs to be double turbo energy. Fusion Strike energy not helping in this stage.
Well, throwing away the Oricorio means that you could just go and find that Mew V. I believe
Thinning as much
Mew
as
V Max
possible
was
here.
in hand.
Yes.
So-
Mew V Max in the hand, and this discard of the Oricorio does thin a card out of the hand and also a card out of the deck.
Yeah, this is beautiful. You can play every single card here and draw 6. Any one of those will, if they are the boss's orders, would be fantastic. And even just find that energy too. You need both those pieces if you want to close out.
It's a 2-card combo at this stage, boss's orders and double turbo energy. Toward having to think about what to promote here. You could send up the Gardevoir, it's got the most HP, but it would force your opponent to no longer need boss's orders if they found all 4 power tablets. And there they are, laying them on the table. 4 power tablets, and now 6 cards drawn with Fusion Strike system.
Yep,
needing boss and double turbo energy. There's the DT and the boss's orders. I think Vance Kelly has it. Boss's orders, KO Zacian V, and 2 prizes, taking the win in Game 1 of our Master Division Finals.
What a way to close out in game number 1 here, Vance Kelly. 4 power tablet. You could have knocked out that Gardevoir EX if you wanted to.
Yeah, it would have worked out. So Tord can maybe be thankful that it wouldn't have mattered if Collapse Stadium had come into play or not. Maybe it would have limited Vance a little bit. It's 1 less Pokemon put into play. But at this stage, Vance finding himself advantaged in this final game up against one of the absolute best to ever even touch a Pokemon card in Tord Reklev.
35 minutes that game took, and we didn't see that many turns, Chip. That's really just goes to show what these players have to do each and every turn to get the job done. You got a lot to think about there, and I think Tord missing on that reversal energy, that might haunt him if he doesn't see a good game too.
That was a really tough turn because it was pretty high odds. He saw a bunch of cards, and he didn't even have to necessarily find reversal energy. He also could have found 9 psychics. A little harder to do, but certainly possible. And if you're not drawing reversal energy, you got to be drawing something else, right?
There's got to be good cards in the deck. We did see the Ultra Ball with the double psychic on that turn, so a lot of resources used there. But sometimes it just doesn't work out, even though you took a pretty solid calculated risk.
Tord, this was a big decision here from Tord Reklev, taking the knockout, but also allowing his own Gardevoir to be KO'd. He knew Vance had a win condition that turn, but he just had to hope. He had to cross his fingers, and the Genesect was too strong, finding the boss's orders to take that knockout. Here we go. Player shuffling up. Game number 2 underway. You expect this high-level play from both of these players. They've done so much to get to this point, Tord being one of the best, Tord being who he is, and Vance making it all the way from day 1, battling tons of excellent opponents through day 2, including Azul Garcia Griego in the top 4. You don't expect to see many mistakes at this stage, but do you think there's any other strategies these players could try to utilize as we move into a Game 2?
I mean, we saw already from Tord, he valued that Lost Vacuum, really wanted to hold on to that for the right time, but then pulled the trigger when he needed to. Saw an opportunity where he could get ahead and not have to worry about sneaking in an additional attack. If you can win this game in 2 attacks, clearly you'd love to go for that. We have seen counterplay back and forth in this matchup before with boss's orders. If we can see those early, then maybe you do get some great play. Vance has those Lost City where you can target down those Curlias. So it really just depends on when you find those cards and if it's at the right time. If you do, maybe you switch it up.
Here we go. Opening hands being found. Both of our competitors. Looks like Tord did take a mulligan, so Vance will have 1 more card to work with, and a second mulligan, actually, for Tord Reklev. The last thing you want to do is be giving Mew VMAX extra cards.
Yep, those usually end up being Battle VIP Pass or something good. Cramomatics, we've seen you don't want to give Vance any additional help. The deck is already pretty strong, and I mean, we saw that opening from Game 1. It wasn't great.
It really wasn't. That's what's impressive to me about game number 1. It was pretty clunky, honestly, for Vance. The early game was a lot of Fusion Strike system for 1, Fusion Strike system for 2, and even in the mid and late game, it was not that good. All the way till that last turn. It looks like a 3rd mulligan now for Tord Reklev. It was only on that last turn that we finally saw a Fusion Strike system for more than 3 or 4 cards, I believe.
Well, you talk about alternate strategies. Maybe Tord going for the deck out plan here on Vance. It's already going to have 3 additional cards in hand.
I mean, it is optional how many mulligans you want to draw.
And maybe you just don't play the Iono and you deck yourself.
3 additional cards being able to be added to Vance's hand. Of course, in the Pokemon TCG, when you draw your opening hand of 7, you must find a basic Pokemon. You have to start with a basic. If you are unable to do so, got to shuffle that hand back in and draw what we call a mulligan. And it looks like for Tord, once again, that Cresselia will be the starter.
The rest of the hand, pretty good. But Cresselia is not the one you want to see. These prize cards are going to mean so much here. Double Force Sealstone on one side, Ralts again on the other side for Tord Reklev.
That Meloetta being in the prizes for Vance is going to eliminate any potential for striking first, going second, taking the turn 1 Melodious Echo KO. No longer on the table. We could see a Psychic Leap come out, maybe KO a Ralts, but a little less likely. Toward prizing that Mew, that is really not ideal.
Well, on this side for Tord, has that Battle VIP pass. Gets to look through. We've seen this time and time again. Just take your time, figure out what all those prize cards are. It's going to get the bad news that 1 Ralts is down, but it's not nearly as bad when you are playing the Mirage Step.
Not too bad at all. Same thing we saw in game 1. 1 Ralts being prized. It's not going to stop Tord. If he's got any energy cards in his hand, Radiant Greninja could also be a nice card to get into play. Try to see a few more options, a few more pieces. For now, it will just be a pair of Ralts hitting the bench. Once again, a little unfortunate to start that Cresselia. Not the best in this matchup. It's not terrible by any means. You'd certainly rather start it than Zacian or Lumineon V, which Tord also plays. And there actually is no energy cards at all in this hand. He does have that Forest Sealstone, however.
Do you really want a Forest Sealstone to retreat?
I don't think so.
Me neither.
So it will just be a pair of Ralts grabbed, placing them directly onto the bench from this powerful item card. Really a card that has totally shaped our standard format. So many decks playing it. I think if we counted all the cards and all 8 of our top 8 competitors' decks, I mean, was there anyone that didn't have 4 Battle VIP Pass in their list?
They'd be a fool not to.
Draw for turn now for Vance. Does find a Nest Ball. Looks like an Ultra Ball in hand. Cram-O-Matic waiting in tow, but no Battle VIP Pass at this moment. A few Power Tablet as well. That's an awkward card to find early.
Well, we'll see finally the first heads of the game there for Vance Kelly as that switch card is going to turn into a Battle VIP Pass.
Absolutely. Definitely the card that you expect to see grabbed. If you're able to search for any one card, thanks to flipping heads, you got to get the best card in your list on turn number 1, and it will be that VIP.
Yeah, we saw in the hand, looked like there was Nest Ball, a couple other ways to get some Pokemon down into play. But thinning this opening hand could be tricky.
And that is a bit of a worry as Mew VMAX when your opponent takes a bunch of mulligans. Whenever you get a bunch of additional cards in your hand, it can actually be kind of awkward to get to a low hand size so that you can actually draw through your deck with Fusion Strike system.
Calculated by Tord?
No. I do think Vance did have at least an Ultra Ball, so that'll be something that'll work, get you a few cards down. I also did see some Power Tablet in this opening hand here from Vance. Really a card that you want to save in this matchup. Give yourself that option to get the big KO on a Gardevoir EX. Having it in this opening hand is pretty awkward. Actually, 3 in this opening hand.
Yeah, if Forest Sealstone was around, maybe you could try to solidify Iono at some stage. Just get these cards out of the hand because it's unfortunate to see them so early. Usually, if you see you have to play 1 early, you're probably going to throw away at least 2 or 3 more because they really work together.
Vance adding a card to the hand. I actually believe it is the Escape Rope, choosing not to go for the Battle VIP Pass. We could see an Escape Rope KO on a Ralts this turn with an Alessa Sparkle play. I think this is what Vance is going to go for, just pure aggression. This could get punished by Tord if he's able to find the Mirage Step on the next turn.
This is very risky. I like it.
You're up a game in the finals of our TCG Championship. Try to push that advantage. Go with the aggression.
I mean, you think about the punish on the other side. If Mirage Step is waiting, you just walk right into triple Curlia, and sure, you're going to take some prize cards to begin, but you'll end up in the same spot, the clunky hand, the clunky deck.
Yeah. It's going to be a pretty big commitment here from Vance for this play. He's going to have to use his Forest Sealstone to go fetch out a Fusion Strike energy. He's going to have to probably play this Ultra Ball if he wants to draw any cards this turn. He may have to play all 3 of these Power Tablets or at least lose them all this turn.
Yeah. You either play all of them or none of them. It's going to be the Forest Sealstone.
And let's see if this is the Fusion Strike energy being grabbed here. He does, if he goes for a Psychic Leap play, I mean, I think he definitely needs to find another Mew V. He's not going to necessarily be shuffling this one back into the deck. He can choose to leave it in play. But getting another Mew V would protect against Tord finding something crazy like Rare Candy, Gardevoir, and, you know, just 3 Psychic Energy. Fans might be saying that's pretty unlikely, though. I mean, Tord played a VIP pass, and that's it, turn one.
I mean, Candy, Shiny Arcana, get 1 energy from the Arcana, and then Reversal Energy is a knockout here. Like,
yeah, that works,
You have to be very worried about Tord having the reach.
If it was Gardevoir EX as well, and you're burning all these power tablets, even if it takes some damage from Psychic Embrace, it's going to have a lot of hit points. Ultra Ball will find a second Mew V, prepping for that potential worst-case scenario outcome, and Alessa Sparkle targeting both Mew V, grabbing out those Fusion Strike energy cards.
I mean, energy's not guaranteed, right?
No, he forced Sealstone for it.
Okay, I was
But
worried.
it's a big commitment to do this. Yeah, he's used that 1 V-Star power. You only get 1 a game.
We joked about Tord maybe having to do that. Instead, it is Vance going for the knockout with the Mew V. And 2 cards in hand, can draw 1 with the Genesect. If you don't play this down, double tablet, we're going for it.
Okay. Drawing 3 cards here, crossing the fingers, hoping to find a VIP pass. Let's see what these 3 cards hold. Tablet and a Mew V and a double turbo energy.
That was, if it was a Genesect, you could continue to draw, but there's only 1 in play. It's just going to have to be the knockout on the Ralts.
Vance still in an advantage. I mean, it's very unlikely for Tord to respond to this Mew V, so I don't necessarily dislike the aggression, but it's maybe a line most players would not have gone for. We do see Tord promoting the Ralts right away, however. He does have Forest Sealstone in hand. That can guarantee him 1 piece, potentially. Iono. You see the Luminion was the draw as well. A couple of Ultra Ball in this hand. Tord has plenty of options laid out before him.
Yeah, I mean, clearly with the Forest Sealstone, the reach with the supporters, you could go very aggressive and go for the Shiny Arcana Gardevoir. I don't think that's the line you want to go for here. Play it safe, get the Mirage Step rolling. And yeah, you're going to give up some prize cards, but Vance needs a lot going for him to continue.
Things are going to be a little scary here for Tord, though. He's got to play this Iono. He does not have a Psychic Energy in hand yet, so he is pretty forced into that line. He also, actually, you know, he knows his opponent's hand is not that good, so Tord not wanting to play Iono. I mean, his opponent did not do much. I kind of like this as well. You do put Luminion in play. It is a bit of a liability, but you really do not want to refresh your opponent's hand.
Yeah, the one risk, of course, is you don't want to draw into those Curlias here. That would be unfortunate. But you have the Forest Sealstone that you can play onto the Luminion, and then you can always guarantee that you find that Psychic Energy, just in case things go really awry.
Yep, pretty nice to get used to that Sealstone. Of course, for a while, Tord was the one popularizing the Sky Sealstone, and that's a card that can be really big in this Mew VMAX matchup.
Talk about 2 attacks.
He played it in his NAIC list, but for this tournament, it appears we've moved to the more consistent power that Forest Sealstone provides. Attach of that Sealstone to that Pokemon V on the bench. Professor's Research will discard that Iono. Now 7 cards being drawn. Really all Tord is looking for is a Psychic Energy and hoping not to draw any Curlias, and that is exactly what he's been able to do.
Yeah, that is perfect there. Found exactly what he was looking for. You don't even need to use Forest Sealstone. Just hold on to that. Get all of these Curlia into play. I think Tord's going to be drawing cards next turn.
Plenty of refinements incoming. Let's get the coins ready. Place them on those Pokemon. Thinking through the rest of the hands, the rest of the options. Don't really think there's much else you want to play here. Definitely don't want to put Collapsed down. It would mean you couldn't get a Curlia.
Next turn.
Next turn. Get rid of the Luminion after using Forest Sealstone. Pretty solid. And Tord is actually going to use this Forest Sealstone right now. Can get any 1 card out of the deck. What is the piece that he would like to see?
Yeah, maybe just, honestly.
I think what Tord's doing here is he's using this assuming that Vance would have the option to Boss's Orders KO.
Boss's Orders, yeah, in combination with like a path. Would
get value from the Sealstone right now before your opponent has an opportunity to take it out of play. Also, of course, Vance playing multiple copies of Lost Vacuum could just discard this. So Really smart from Tord, even though he doesn't need anything right now. Get some value now before your opponent has the opportunity to disrupt you.
Yeah, even though you're going to have all of these Corellia in play, have 6 guaranteed draws. Once to guarantee the Professor's Research to really burn through the deck, you need to have all those Psychic Energies in the discard pile if you want to get relevant attacks off in this game. The strategy.
And what we were unable to see in Game 1, Tord has found in Game number 2, Mirage Step, placing 3 Corellia directly into play. A near ideal setup at this juncture. Vance now drawing for turn, finding a Cramomatic. That could become just about anything. Not before playing this Nest Ball, however. Searching the deck for any basic Pokemon. It will be another Genesect added to this field.
Yep, finally another Genesect added. You'd love to see the draw there with Fusion Strike system start to build up, start to burn through the deck here. Plenty of energies in play. However, we don't see Mew VMAX just yet. If you want to start taking some relevant knockouts, I'm thinking Boss's Orders. We're talking about the Lost City as well. Just these cards eventually start to really do some work.
Vance now drawing 3 with this Fusion Strike system. Looking for a VMAX as well. That is another piece that is missing. Ultra Ball can fetch it from the deck, and also Lost City could be pretty decent at this spot. It becomes a question, though. Do you want to try to Lost Zone a Corellia and a Ralts in the active spot, or are we going for Boss's Orders this turn?
The prize cards are there if you wanted to target the Luminion. I don't think you ever really want to go after the Refinement in a stage like this.
There's already 2 other ones in play.
Yeah, taking the knockout on the active seems like a pretty solid play. It also conserves the resources of the Boss's Orders for later on. And it really puts Tord on a clock with that Collapse Stadium play. We'd like to work that into the mix next turn.
Ultra Ball ditching 2 not so useful cards here, Alessa Sparkle and a Cramomatic that may have flipped tails anyway, just to fetch out another Genesect, drawing more with Fusion Strike system, a full board, tons of draw power available. There is that Mew VMAX. Guaranteed attack lined up here for Vance.
After seeing all of the power tablets, the play you're speaking about earlier, maybe with attacking with V Pokemon is out the window. That would have been a nice play where you could work in a 2-3-3 strategy with the prize cards, making Tord really have to work for it.
We do see Vance still not having played a supporter card, can go for Iono. Will shuffle both players' hands. They will now place them on the bottom of their deck and then draw a card equal to the number of prize cards they have remaining. Very reminiscent of a very popular old card in something that we've both played with plenty back in the day. A little bit of disruption, but also solid draw power in the early and mid game.
Completely negating the V-Star from Tord.
Now I wonder if Vance is looking for the Box of Disaster this turn. Would this be a good time to play it?
I mean, you look at your opponent's discard pile, there's no Psychic Energies in there, but you also understand with triple Refinement, there's always a way that you could see plenty of energies flooded onto the board. You have to be wary of that.
It will be the KO. Corellia and Ralts going to the Lost Zone thanks to the Lost City. Vance down to just 4 prizes onto Tord Reklev's turn. Draws and level ball, plays it immediately. Eyeing up a Ralts, ready to put that into play, maybe for a rare candy into Gardevoir later on. Did promote this Cresselia, pretty easy to just pivot out once you put a Gardevoir EX into play. Have to imagine that is what Tord is thinking with this. It looks like another level ball coming in to get just that second Ralts, really thinning the deck at this point.
Thinning is winning. We do see Fog Crystal also in the hand, so if you want to continue to burn Psychic Energies with a Refinement, that will be a strategy that we could see Tord work in. Really just need to see all of those Psychic Energies hitting the discard pile. Also, shuffle of the deck, pretty solid, as you need to get that Professor's Research moving.
A big card that was sent to the bottom last turn for Tord was that that Collapsed Stadium. That would have been a great way to bump the Lost City, get rid of this Luminion, and the draw for turn off that Refinement. Did you see what that was? Double rare candy?
Candies, yeah. Those don't work right now.
No. It's a 2-card. Tord definitely did not want to see too much. Playing this Fog Crystal now to fetch 1 more Psychic Energy. Such a versatile card in this deck, allowing in the early game for you to get your basic Pokemon. In the mid and late game, finding you energy cards. Now Refinement once again does find that Lost Vacuum, but has it been found a little too early?
Yeah, this means finding the Professor's Research ends up being a bad card for you. You don't want to lose the Lost Vacuum again. We saw how important that could be if you can work it in against the Box of Disasters.
Tord does have Iono in the hand, can bench this Ralts and play the Iono, still has 1 more Refinement to use, and also now, after evolving, can use Shining Arcana on the other end of this 6-card draw. He's debating it, wanting to see if there's anything else to play. No reason to play this Lost Vacuum just yet. Iono coming down.
You're really worried about the rest of the psychic energies that would be necessary to get the knockout on this turn. Reversal energy also basically has to be included in this combination here off the Iono.
We don't see it just yet.
Ooh, there's Ultra Ball double psychic though.
That is pretty good. That adds 2 more to the discard pile. I think there is just 3 at the moment, so still needs 1 more in the discard pile. Choosing now to discard 1, hoping maybe to draw another. There it is, another psychic energy drawn, but still no reversal energy.
We have the Ultra Ball that can continue to thin down. We have Shining Arcana Gardevoir to draw 2 more. Going to use that before the Ultra Ball here.
And I like this decision because he knows he puts several cards on the bottom that are not helpful, and that actually could work as well. Double energy hit off this Shining Arcana. He can accelerate both of these to the Gardevoir.
That's 8.
It's just short. He needs 1 more energy card.
It looks so good.
Still worth throwing these in play. And I think this Ultra Ball may have to find the second Shining Arcana Gardevoir. I think that is towards out at this point.
Yeah.
Needs to go get the other Shining Arcana. He needs to hit now just a psychic energy or reversal off of it.
Understands the assignment here.
Fog Crystal would work as well. Talked about that being such a versatile card. It does mean you won't have Refinement Curlia on the next turn. I think Tord would have really liked to not have to put this Shining Arcana Gardevoir in play, but Vance has already 2 prizes taken. You have to make something happen this turn.
1 more psychic energy in the deck, 2 reversal energies. Those are going to be the targets we're looking for here off of these last 2 cards
and
from
just,
Shining Arcana.
Just 1 Fog Crystal as well. 4 outs for Tord Reklev, still plenty of cards in deck. This could be the difference of a winner and a loser in this game. What 2 cards does Tord find this turn? Needing an energy card. Any energy will do. He knows the situation. Let's see what happens. 2 cards. What does he hit?
1 at a time.
There's the psychic energy. Massive draw. Exactly what Tord needs. And he's going to take a 3-prize KO this turn.
You think about what had to happen in game number 1 for Tord to miss. The odds were so against him to find this knockout here, and this has to be the most excited we've ever seen Tord playing down these energies.
Energy cards added from the discard pile, 3 added from the Shining Arcana. That powerful energy acceleration ability, 12 damage counters now on this active, but that is no problem. A very worthy trade. 3 prize cards taken from just a 1 prize Gardevoir.
What a turn of events. The potential to win a game with 2 attacks is back online for Tord Reklev, taking the knockout here.
Here we go. Half the game done in 1 single attack for Tord Reklev. Vance sends that Mew VMAX and V to the Lost Zone, promoting another Mew V. Now drawing for turn. Has another Mew V to replace the one that was just discarded. Has that Key Box of Disasters now. But Tord has not played that Lost Vacuum this game.
I'm really contemplating if there is a way that you can attack with this Mew V, work the 2 prizes into the mix at this time of the game. The Box of Disasters doesn't really work that well if you see the reversal energy played, but that's not going to be an issue anymore. Tord has overextended with all of his basic psychic energies. They're going to have to come from the discard pile and the Gardevoir EX at this point.
Yeah, there's going to have to be quite a bit of damage placed on a Gardevoir no matter what Tord does. Maybe we see a super odd play and a Shining Arcana, but I think Tord's deck is still a little too thick for a play like that to happen. Vance gearing up for some powerful draws this turn thanks to Genesect V. And where does the Box of Disaster go? It looks like it will be the active, hoping to attack with Psychic Leap this turn. All Vance needs to pull that off is any energy card. Fusion Strike Energy, which there's 1 of left, and also Double Turbo Energy. Either of those will work, only needing to deal 20 damage, and there is that Double Turbo.
Yeah, off the first draw, finally, a little bit of fortune there for Vance, finding the right card at the right time.
Now, the interesting thing here for Vance is that he... with that Box of Disasters attached, there is a world where Tord could take the knockout without putting enough damage counters on something like a Zacian V, so it's not a return KO, potentially. Mew V only having 180 hit points. But this is a decent spot, and I think Vance can also have the option here to not put a 3-prize Pokemon in play. Don't give Tord a win condition next turn.
Definitely, and even in that situation, if the Zacian V is promoted and attacks you're going to knock that Pokemon out. Maybe you can combine that with an Iono, and then it's really hard for Tord to find the right cards if he hasn't started to burn through the deck already.
There's the double Turbo Energy. Also, the Path to the Peak. That is a card we have not seen quite yet from Vance. It can be really strong in this matchup for instances exactly like this. Take a knockout on this Gardevoir. Send all those energies to the discard pile. Maybe try to disrupt Tord as well and put that path down. Tord has maybe a hard time getting those energies back into play.
Yeah, I can see a turn where that'd be relevant. Maybe next turn you can work that in combination with Iono. You want to...
I mean, this turn seems not bad if you Iono, right? Putting Tord to just 3+ down the path.
It could be great. Yeah, there's certainly a world for it. We'll see if Vance wants to go very aggressive and go for that play. Cramomatic is going to help out here if that is the case.
Any card being able to be added to the hand now after this flip. Vance taking stock, looking at the hand, figuring out what resource he wants to go for. Has not played a supporter yet this turn. Judge is an option. Iono, I believe, was played already this game, so that is not going to be the play. It would have to be a Judge, which is definitely in a spot like this quite a bit weaker than the Iono. Not sending your opponent's cards to the bottom. They have an opportunity to draw the same ones, and also giving them one additional card to work with.
It's going to be a tough spot to work through. But this is what Vance is built for at this stage. He's been playing Mew VMAX in countless tournaments to get to this point where he is potentially 4 prize cards away from becoming the world champion.
We do see that Judge is the option. Still another Fusion Strike system to utilize. 1 card drawn, added to the hand. I think doing this does signify we are going to see this path play.
Okay.
Using this ability before Path comes down. Always feels a little weird to see Path to the Peak in a Mew VMAX deck, but it is for reasons exactly like this.
Yeah, you think about the prize exchanges that we've seen so far. This is going to lead to a 3-3 prize cards left, which means that we're not going to see reversal energy at this point in the game. To find any attacks, Tord will have to find a counter stadium to get these psychic energies back into play by way of Gardevoir EX.
4 cards drawn for each of these players. Vance does not need much else here at this point. Can go for the Psychic Leap. Choosing not to shuffle in this Mew V.
Good call.
Leaving that Box of Disasters in the active and losing all those energies for Tord Reklev now. What did these 4 cards yield for him?
Well, I got a peek, Chip. It's Professor's Research.
Okay, that's pretty solid. We'll draw plenty of cards here in this spot. Draw for turn is a Ralts. Level Ball can now be played. Grabbing out potentially that Curlia that was put back earlier, I do believe. Or no, it will just be the Manaphy. Just discarding, thinning, getting rid of it, and leaving that Ralts on the bench open as a rare candy target.
We see Artisan in there as well as the Collapse Stadium, so a couple of good finds off of the Professor's Research. It's failed him before. If it can find the right cards here, maybe Tord can continue to put some pressure on.
Does also have Radiant Greninja or a Ralts, 2 options of what Pokemon he would like to put into play. Radiant Greninja loses a lot of value when you've got that many Psychic Energy already in your discard pile, but even if you still have 1 left, it can be utilized.
Yep. Don't believe there is 1 left, and we still see the path, but obviously big piece here is going to see
that Lost Vacuum and the Collapse Stadium. Huge. Able to use that Collapse, and that is probably the perfect stadium to draw at this point, as you can use it to discard the Luminion V.
Yep, we're going to see the counterplay here. You can remove some prize cards. That would be very easy for Vance. And you have the Lost Vacuum for the Box of Disasters as well.
And this also forces Vance to discard a Pokemon from play. Has to lose either a Genesect or a Mew V potentially. The Lost Vacuum find is massive. The Collapse Stadium, Tord hit exactly what he needed off of that research.
This is an interesting choice, as of course, you're only going to have 1 more knockout available after this. You could attack with Mew VMAX, but you want to also have the ability to switch between that Pokemon if you can't find those resources at the end of the game.
We also could see a world maybe where Tord actually attacks with the Gardevoir EX. Wouldn't be too bad, and he actually finds rare candy into the other Gardevoir EX. That would make me feel a bit more comfortable about attacking with one of those 2 prize Pokemon. Could be a decent play here. Would take 2 prizes for Tord, and it's a high HP Pokemon that it's really difficult for Vance to deal with, especially with so many Power Tablets already gone, and that is the key card right now in this spot. Lost Vacuum ditching the Box of Disasters.
Has plenty of resources left now. Can accelerate these energies with the Gardevoir EX, and I do like what you're saying there, Chip. You can use this Gardevoir EX as your attacker at this stage of the game, and then maybe you have a big closeout knockout with the Shining Arcana Gardevoir.
Toward debating all the options, does have the reversal energy in hand, but is going for this Gardevoir EX play. I think this is the better option. I like going this route. 3-3 prizes for both of these players.
Ooh, gonna load up onto the Gardevoir here as well. Consideration for maybe additional path that may come down. You want to have an answer to at least knock out a V Pokemon on the bench if you have a boss's orders.
We could even see the commitment of the reversal energy. He did draw it, could hold off on getting that extra attachment right now, but could also commit it into play if he's worried about having an Ionoed back into the deck. Looks like that is not the case. Miracle Force able to take this KO, sending toward just one single prize card remaining this game. Vance Kelly needing to find a way to navigate back into this. 3 prizes left. No way to take all those prizes this turn.
250 hit points remaining on that Gardevoir EX. All 4 power tablets are gone. There's no way to take a direct knockout on this Pokemon any longer.
Looking through the discard pile here for Vance, checking what resources Tord has utilized, taking notes, making sure he's aware of what is still hanging around. His hand is a little clogged up. He does have a boss's orders. I wonder if Vance is checking for Tord's energy counts. If Vance knows what Tord's energy counts are, there is a world where he could go for a boss stalling play, but I don't, or if he thinks that Tord only has like 9 psychic energy, something like that. These lists are not public yet. If Tord was down too many energy cards, that could be an option, as he did actually prize a basic psychic energy, but Tord actually does still have reversal energy in hand to retreat.
Yeah, I think that's also what Tord's thinking about there while holding that reversal energy on the last turn. Just really have to think about every single way you can win or lose in the TCG if you want to win on the big stage.
Well, it will be an Iono, and it will send Tord to just one single card in hand, and the only way he has to draw more is that Shining Arcana Gardevoir on the bench at the moment. One single card. Vance has to hope that it's not a helpful one. Let's see what his draw is here for turn. Switch card for Sealstone and an Ultra Ball off of that Iono. I think he has already used Escape Rope this game. Yep, used it in that opening turn, and there is just one copy in this list. So Vance pretty much has to try to 2-hit KO through this Gardevoir EX. No option to get the 1-hit knockout.
Gonna look through. See, there is just one Pokemon remaining in the deck at this point of the game. It's going to be that Mew VMAX. So we'll have all the attackers necessary to continue to try to take prize cards in this game. But the prizes are not lining up at this state. Just too much hit points on the other side there for Tord. And really, just one more draw from Tord Reklev. If he can find that boss's orders, could close out here and bring us to a game 3.
Could be all he needs, really is all he needs at this point. So many energy already on that Gardevoir on the bench.
Oh, there is a power tablet.
Yeah, just 3 played in that first turn, so there is still one available, but still not enough to get this KO.
Copy Techno Blast.
It will just be the hit. 210 damage thrown into this Gardevoir in the active. And that means Vance is really 2 turns away from winning, giving Tord a little bit of breathing room. Draw for turn, has the Artisan draw, now is that Super Rod, plays the Artisan to bump the stadium, can shuffle the deck if he knows there's good cards on the bottom that he wants, and Super Rod can also put back something like Lumineon, increasing the odds to find boss's orders for the game.
You can also add that psychic energy back into the mix. If you use Shining Arcana and find that energy, you don't have to attach it. You could draw it and then use Radiant Greninja to continue to draw. So a few more outs here for Tord Reklev as he looks to close out here in game number 2. We will see the Artisan used, but he's just tapping it, moving on.
Tord, being an absolute master, knows exactly how to increase his outs as much as possible. Still a pretty thick deck. Draw for turn is the Lumineon off that Shining Arcana. Exactly what Tord needs. Boss's orders brings up Genesect, taking 2 prizes, and we're going to a game 3 in our Masters TCG Finals.
Tord Reklev. 9 psychic energies out of nowhere to take a 3-prize knockout. Then, with some beautiful counterplay, finds everything necessary to close out there. Vance Kelly Had to use a lot of resources early on there. Did not have the answers to close out on the Gardevoir EX at a crucial point. And the fish bails him out.
Putting it back off the super rod. Turns out the rod was the perfect draw for turn from Tord Reklev. What a game, what a set. Vance went so aggressive in the early game, using Psychic Leap, taking a KO on a Ralts, but Tord was able to respond with the Mirage Step, filled the board with plenty of Kirlia pieces. And this was the key moment. Tord needing to find an energy card off of Shining Arcana, and it's the first card that he hits. Couldn't even believe it.
I couldn't believe it. No one could believe it. Everyone in the crowd here elated to see an amazing finals there, to take it to game two, the game two there, and move into game number 3. I mean, what are we in store for here, Chip?
Well, it could be interesting, Kyle, as we have less than 7 minutes, around 7 minutes remaining here in our Masters Finals, and we're in a world where the top cut rules could come into play. Of course, in a normal game of the Pokemon TCG, when you get to time, you get +3 turns, 3 additional turns to play things out, and then if you don't have a winner by the end of those 3 turns, the match is a tie. We're in our finals. We have to have a winner, so top cut rules absolutely could be a factor here. We'll get through it here in a moment. In the meantime, let's get down to the table. These players are starting things off here for Game 3. Prize cards,
Ooh.
2 boss for Vance Kelly.
Double Ralts on the other side for Tord Reklev at the tippy top, too.
Neither player loving to see that.
Cram-o-matic, big flip to start things off.
This is massive. Does find a Tails. Not what you want to see. Looks like Ultra Ball.
Look at that hand.
Yeah, Ultra Ball is going to have to be the play to thin things down.
He can draw 1, 2.
1 or 2 cards, I do believe, here from Vance Kelly.
Looks like
With only 5 minutes left in this match, time rules are absolutely something that could become a factor here. We'll get to, if we get to those +3 turns after time expires, we play until those +3 turns are ended. And at the end of that, either player who is ahead on prize cards becomes our winner, becomes our world champion. And if our players are tied in prizes when we get to +3 turns, we continue to play turn after turn until someone takes a prize. It could become a situation of first to take a prize becomes the world champion.
Now let's talk a little bit about Tord. He's got those 2 Ralts in the prize cards. If you can get 2 down into play on this opening turn, then you have the option to use that Mirage Step, get the Kirlias into play, and then make it a lot less of an issue. It's still going to be terrifying to go through that opening deck search and not see 2 Ralts.
There's a lot riding on 1 card here for Vance Kelly. He's going to be able to play out a couple cards from the hand. Energy Attachment to the Mew, just grabbed off the Ultra Ball. It actually will be a 3-card draw, so plenty to work with. Let's see, can he find a VIP or a Nest Ball? Ultra Ball is at a minimum acceptable, but at the cost of having to lose Box of Disasters, he recognizes. He's thinking, can he lose the Box of Disaster here? It's the tech for this matchup. Possibly one of the most annoying cards to draw. Vance doesn't think he can lose it yet, just chooses to pass.
Just such a consistent approach to it. And
Draws.
Look at this, Tord immediately finds 2 Pokemon. It's Battle VIP Pass, basically.
Battle VIP not needed when you hit the Mew and the Ralts. Level Ball can find the other Ralts. Tord will take a moment to maybe check the prize cards, but he's playing pretty quick here. Turbo Tord potentially activated.
Giddy up.
He's going to get through this deck, try to make this game happen, and try to be the one who's ahead on prize cards.
Yes.
He is aware of the time situation. Vance is aware of the time situation. Few know more about the time rules in the Pokemon TCG than Tord Reklev. He knows what's happening here.
You have to worry. This is not a matchup where you want to have only 3 minutes remaining on the clock. Easily, the first prize cards generally go over to the Mew VMAX player. Tord is going to be zooming through, trying to find the right resources, finds Battle VIP Pass, but is it even good here?
There's no Ralts.
You're just focused on using that level ball for the Mirage Step. Maybe you just go for the Fog Crystal to guarantee the Psychic Energy or the Ultra Ball here now to hold on to maybe a better supporter play with the Luminion. You just want to have all those options available.
Tord did have Iono, choosing not to play it, of course, knowing Vance didn't do too much. Draw for turn from Vance is the path to the peak. That's an annoying card to have to lose here as well. And it looks like he's going to choose to try to not lose it. benching the Meloetta, attaching Box of Disaster. Now Genesect being able to draw 2 cards, Fusion Strike system, looking for a Nest Ball or another Genesect, trying to keep things rolling. Vance needs to try to be the first to attack, draws a Cram-O-Matic.
With the Ultra Ball.
It's a little risky. He also has a Mew VMAX in the hand. He is going to actually Ultra Ball away the Mew VMAX, choosing to keep Path to the Peak, really valuing that stadium right now.
I mean, you think about it, Tor didn't show you too much after that Mew there. You saw the Ultra Ball, which means that could be the Lumineon there, so
sure.
You easily want to have that Path to the Peak in play to try to block Tord from finding that Mirage Step. That is basically going to be the only way that Tord finds a big win here. 4
cards drawn now for Vance. Off Fusion Strike system, looking for a switching card, possibly a VMAX. Doesn't find too much. Cram-O-Matic cannot ditch that Choice Belt. It is no longer an item card. I think Vance is going to have to go for the Judge.
Yeah, Alyssa Sparkle's found, but you can't retreat this Pokemon too high of a retreat cost. It's going to have to be the Judge, and not going to play the Path to the Peak, wants to leave the potential for a Genesect V to help out here if the draw is that bad.
Off these 4 cards, Vance is really going to need to find Energy, VMAX, and a switch card if he wants to attack this turn. He can't really even put another Genesect in play, because then he doesn't have room for another Mew V.
Yeah, if you find the Fusion Energy, then you don't need the Evolution, but
sure.
It's certainly not a great place to be at. But you really want this prize card. There is 60 seconds remaining in the World Championships here.
We are definitely going to time in this game. It is going to be big. Who is turn 1? Who is turn 2?
Ooh.
Whose turn is it once time rules go into effect? 4 cards now for each player. What does Vance Kelly have access to? VIP not useful. There is the VMAX and a switch card, but I don't see the energy card.
Yep, he found the wrong pieces there, and I've got bad news for Vance. On the other side, Tord Reckless found just about everything he needs.
Taking stock of the moment, trying to figure it out. If Vance is unable to take a KO this turn, Tord becomes the one who's advantaged in this position.
3.
Yeah, with 2 Psychic Energies already in the discard for Tord, there is the route where you just go very aggressive. Obviously, just prize cards are important at this stage. It's going to get the hit points in the active spot.
Yeah, choosing to send this up, not wanting to lose a Ralts, respecting the potential for Vance to have what he needs to take the KO. I think it makes sense. And just a pass, Tord draws very quickly. 1 second, 0 seconds on the clock. Tord Reklev should now be turn 0 of time.
Not a familiar place for Tord. He is going to be turn 0 now, which means he still has 2 turns. He's going to try to take some prize cards in this space. Of course, it's so awkward when you want to draw with Refinement, but you want to leave the potential to rare candy into a Gardevoir at this state of the game.
The issue here is if Tord does not take a knockout this turn, Vance becomes the first person to take a knockout. And then Tord is really going to be pressured to try to KO a Mew VMAX. And then Tord will be really pressured to KO a Mew VMAX, and then Vance will have the option to try to tie the game up. This is really awkward, a really interesting situation to try to navigate. Can Tord really even afford to go for Mirage Step is another question.
Yeah, I don't think so at this point. I think you're just trying to draw and do the best resources you can. Lumineon V is also such a risk, but that is one way that you would really push for that rare candy in a space like this.
It's so difficult, though, with 2 Ralts prized as well. We can't forget. These are all Tord has to work with. If he goes for Mirage Step this turn and Vance takes a 1 prize KO, and then Tord takes a 3 prize KO, I mean, he's needing to hit just about everything to make that happen. And with the send-up of the Radiant Greninja here, it's pretty unlikely Tord is actually even going to be able to pull this off. He needs to attach, retreat, and then he can't attach again. He would need Rare Candy Gardevoir.
This is going to be all in on the fish.
I think so.
Ultra Ball, I'm going to throw away that Psychic Energy. Have 3 of those in the discard pile for the Rare Candy Gardevoir.
And what does Tord grab here? Could get the Zacian V as a potential attacker, but, I mean, that's something that can pretty easily be KO'd by Vance.
Yeah.
You don't really want to get a Curlia to put that in play, because then you can't get a Rare Candy Gardevoir.
Well, you think about the exchange here. If you're using the Gardevoir EX to attack in a state like this, you're going to take the knockout. If the return knockout happens, the Zacian V could be your only real attacker to take a knockout on the Mew V Max at that point of the game, because your Curlia that you're going to have played down has to evolve into Gardevoir EX.
Searching through the deck, debating what to thin out here. does he want to get rid of? Taking a moment to check through the prizes, maybe was playing pretty quickly now, but it was playing pretty quickly previously, but now has a bit more time. We're in +3 turns. The clock is no longer a factor. Luminion, Luminous Sign, searching the deck for any supporter. Have to imagine this is a research.
Research. It's going to get 7 cards in this state of the game. You need to draw that rare candy. That Curlia would be also a solid find as it continues to draw up. We see some Psychic Energies in the discard pile. You're going to have enough probably to attack with that Gardevoir EX. But because of the way that the time works, Tord will be turn 2. That means he's going to have one big knockout lined up and have some hit points waiting behind.
Tord is down an Ultra Ball. He also has a Gardevoir EX in the prize cards. He's going to be relying on this draw here. Effectively 9 cards. He does have a Curlia in the hand. He can evolve one of these Ralts, and he's going to research away this hand and draw 7 new cards. Off the 7 and off the refinement, can he find Rare Candy, Gardevoir, and then also a basic energy to retreat this Radiant Greninja? 7 cards coming, emptying the hand out completely. Possibly the biggest Professor's research of Tord Reklev's life. Has the Ultra Ball and the Rare Candy and the Forest Seal Stone. Everything he needs to pull off an attack this turn.
Almost not seeing a way to retreat this Radiant Greninja, which could have been a real issue there, but the Forest Seal Stone could be the big bailout there.
Guaranteeing any piece of the puzzle Tord could need. Will Finn once more also still has refinement to utilize, let us not forget. Such an awkward looking board, but Tord is going to find a way given the situation. And that is what marks a great player, being able to adjust to the situation. Tord could have said, hey, I want to go for my normal game plan. I'm going to Mirage Step. We'll put a bunch of Curlias in play, but he knew in time, with the way Top Cut rules work, he has to take a knockout this turn.
Yep, that Curlia is not going to be relevant there. Need to throw that away. Search out that Gardevoir EX. You have the Rare Candy, and skip the evolution stage, get this amazing Pokemon into play, which means that you're going to be able to accelerate energies onto your Psychic Pokemon. Still need to see an energy card to move this Radiant Greninja. As we mentioned, we did see the Forest Seal Stone.
This will involve Tord placing 6 damage counters on this Gardevoir EX, making it much easier for Vance to KO, needing less modifiers, and also Meloetta able to come in as a potential option, or a Mew VMAX copying that attack.
Yep, that is going to be an attack to look out for if Vance is able to find some solid cards. It's been all about Tord here in this big turn 0.
Far from over. We're just getting started in time, and finds the energy
Psychic
card.
Energy.
Gets to save Forest Seal Stone. Actually could even concealed cards now to draw extra. He has the backup of Seal Stone if he needs it.
At this point, why not go for it? You get more energies into the discard pile. Continue to draw.
Another energy. Tord is hitting everything he needs. Being able to save Seal Stone is massive, as he will likely need some combo pieces on the next turn to piece together another KO. Rare Candy, Gardevoir EX coming out, and the attachment for turn to the active Greninja incoming to move it to the bench.
Of course, take your time here. It's turn 0. You have plenty of time to figure things out. Gonna take a look at what Vance has going on, as Vance has 2 turns to try to figure this out, but it is gonna be Tord who strikes first. Retreat of the Radiant Greninja.
And we actually have enough energy cards in the discard pile for Tord to go with the Zacian VKO. Protect this Gardevoir. If Tord attacked with the Gardevoir, there's a chance Vance could KO it. So let's go with the Zacian, make sure Gardevoir is safe. Even though you're placing a lot of damage, it'll be easy for Vance to respond with a knockout. This is what Tord wants to do. 100 damage being placed, 5 energies accelerated, more than enough to KO this Genesect.
Yeah, this is really smart. This means you can also incorporate that other Curlia there as a Shiny Arcanic Gardevoir at some point in the game. Could be a huge 1-prize attacker when every prize matters here in time.
210 damage. Storm Slash takes the knockout. Tord taking the first 2 prizes here in game number 3. Vance Kelly left to promote this Meloetta. If he can attack with a 1-prizer, the top deck of Alessa Sparkle will use the switch card here at this moment, however. No Alessa's prized this game. Or sorry, no Fusion Strike energy, I should say. And here comes the Sparkle. If Vance can attack with Meloetta. That would be really strong. And he might be debating, do I even play this or do I just draw 2 cards, increasing my chances to draw Fusion Strike Energy?
Yeah, if you do thin those out, you run into that issue. Of course, you could draw into for Sealstone more likely then, and that could find the final Fusion Strike Energy. There's a lot to think about here.
Vance is turn 1 of time, meaning he will have the last turn of the official time, the official regulation of this match. And that will mean he's going to be in a position where he is able to, with that last turn, try to find a way to navigate and be ahead on prizes as time expires.
2 cards with
Needs
the lone Genesect
energy.
V. Is that Boss's orders? And
Iono, I think, but another Genesect. And we'll just go for the safer Iono play. This means he will be attacking with this Mew VMAX. He does have the Box of Disasters attached to this Pokemon. That is a huge card here for him. Now that that is in play, Tord will have a harder time responding without leaving Vance with a KO. The Lost Vacuum for Tord could be the biggest card in the deck for him right now on this next turn.
Looks like energies were found. I believe that Path to the Peak is also in the hand.
Yeah, I wonder, is Path the thing you need to play? You normally want to save it for the late game, but there's a chance that next turn is Tord's last turn.
This is the late game.
Yeah, on turn 2, the late game. Forest Sealstone able to be found as well. Vance able to potentially draw a bit more with Genesect. Also has a Mew V in hand, debating potentially benching this Pokemon. It would mean he's unable to bench another Genesect if he wants to draw. He does also have Ultra Ball, it looks like.
Yeah. Considerations there for thinning down, finding another Mew V, or just playing the one that you have in hand. It looks like you can thin down now and grab that Pokemon.
Yeah, maybe just get another Mew V out of the deck here. Yep. Exactly. Thin a card out of the hand and the deck. Exactly what Vance is going to do. Want to make sure you have this Pokemon to replace if Tord pops off and gets a 3-prize KO. But if Tord gets a 3-prize KO, he'll be down to just 1 prize card left. I don't actually think there's a way Vance could make that happen. It could be all on the Box of Disasters.
Big card in the matchup, hanging out right there. Boss of Disaster could be keeping Vance in this.
We do see Fusion Strike System, 5 more cards drawn here for Vance. Doesn't really need much else this turn, does have that Path in the hand, can play it. Maybe looking for a way to bump it on the next turn. Doesn't look like he found it. Of course, Forest Sealstone can still be utilized with that Stadium card in play. Is he going to put the Path down is the question. Vance checking his own discard pile, wants to know what resources he still has available. Is it time for Path? It might be your only opportunity to do it, Vance Kelly.
Could be regretting this for a long time. It could be so important to potentially locking out, avoiding an attack from Tord Reklev, and sure enough,
yes,
Path to the Peak.
Tord going to be looking for so much this coming turn off the back of just 1 Kirlia, only 4 cards in hand. This is a massive mountain for Tord Reklev to climb. Vance Kelly tying up the game, 4 prizes apiece for our 2 competitors. And Tord actually does have Boss's orders in the hand.
A Battle VIP pass in the hand as well. Looks like really going to need some help here. Starting things off with the Mew in the active spot.
The key card now is needing a Stadium card. I thought that was it, but it's an Iono.
Iono could help draw out.
He also could Mysterious Tail and try to find the Lost Vacuum to just ditch the Stadium. With Boss in hand, he could Lost Vacuum it away. This could be massive. Does he find it? Is that the line he needs? No Lost Vacuum, Ultra Ball, and Level Ball as the choices. Artisan is there, but you cannot take that.
Either way, you can thin out 1 more card. The rest of these cards will be going to the bottom of the deck with the Iono. So it's just about pulling 1 more Pokemon out. You could use the Ultra Ball to find the Shining Arcana Gardevoir to help out in drawing 2 more cards. It's likely going to be your big attacker here.
This could be a big refinement incoming Toward looking for a Stadium or that Vacuum or both. Either some combination of these cards could be massive. Choosing not to play the Ultra Ball, however, going to go for refinement first, not thinning that extra Shining Arcana Gardevoir out of the deck just yet.
Two cards to look at there. with the refinement.
Here we go, massive incoming draw. Has VIP pass, that's of course a very easy discard. See what he's able to hit, any pieces to work with. Is there a stadium card? Draws, it's a Gardevoir and a research. No stadium just yet, but that Gardevoir can be evolved from the Kirlia.
It's a better supporter to work with, it looks like.
It's a tough situation. You can see it on Tord's face, trying to find a way to navigate this arena he has found himself in.
Yeah. If you found the stadium there, it'd be such an easy knockout. You can use the Shining Arcana Gardevoir to try to go for this. In combination with the boss's orders, you can target down a 2-prize Pokemon that doesn't knock you out on the back end with the Box of Disaster.
Ultra Ball being played for Tord, finding any Pokemon, adding it to the hand. Not enough Psychic Pokemon in play for the Cresselia to potentially come in, take a knockout on like Oricorio or Meloetta on the bench. There's 2 Water Pokemon in play, so that would not quite work. The most Tord could do there with the Moonglow Reverse would be 80 damage.
Yeah, a true debate here, trying to find the right resource. Shining Arcana. It's going to be 2 big cards. We've seen Tord in a space like this so often throughout the entirety of his career, leaving it up to those 2 cards to try to get the job done.
It happened in game number 2. Can he make it happen in game 1? Game 2, Tord found exactly what he needed. Can it come true once again? If there's ever a time to do it, it's here in the Masters Finals of our World Championships.
We saw the iconic double puzzle of time.
Yes.
OCIC.
Here we go.
Can he repeat history and find the right cards?
Would love to find the stadium card here. Has the boss's orders play. If he wants it, draw for turn. There, draw for the refinement. That Shining Arcana, does not hit what he needs. Another Gardevoir and a VIP pass. 2 pretty useless cards right now. And Tord has a decision. Iono in hand, research in hand. He could try to dig for everything. Try to dig for the reversal, the path counter, the lost vacuum, and get the attack off with his Shining Arcana Gardevoir. But that's a lot. That's tough. It's really difficult to do, and he doesn't have any additional draw. It's really going to be onto the 7 cards that he hits, and I think it might be his best chance to win this game.
Yeah, there's a wild sequence where you could see this Cresselia come back into play if you use the Collapse Stadium and then Lost Vacuum it away, find another Psychic Pokemon.
Here we go, ditch the hand, 7 cards. Needs to find the perfect combo. There's the stadium. There's the reversal. There's the Lost Vacuum!
What?
I think Tord has found everything he needs. How many Psychic Energy are in the discard pile? That is the one question I have remaining.
C4 so far.
I think he's gonna be just short. Does have that Forest Seal Stone. Tord's thinking through all the pieces, all the math. Has he found everything he needs to pull this off?
Are the energies all there to get the job done?
Such a tense moment. You can feel it in the room. Everyone on the edge of their seats. None farther forward than Tord Reklev. Has just about everything he needs. We don't know exactly how many Psychic Energy are in the discard pile. He needs 6 basic Psychic Energy. I only see 4 right now. Not sure if there's one hanging just off the screen. The problem here is I don't think he has a way to discard energy cards. There are so many energy in that deck.
Super Rod being right up.
Is this going to be towards 1 out? Something he can do? He may have come up just short here. It appeared as if the pieces would come together. But Super Rod is the grab. Maybe trying to gear up for an Arcana play on the next turn. Tord doing everything he can to find an out and just hoping Vance does not have a way to take a KO this turn. Could it be a situation of Tord just having to push the Gardevoir EX and hoping it doesn't get KO'd? Put your highest HP thing in the active spot and hope your opponent doesn't have it. I don't think he has the knockout lined up so close.
Countering the stadium there.
This will remove that Lumineon V from play and also disrupt Vance just a bit, forcing him to discard one of his benched Pokemon, which is least valuable at this point for Vance. In this situation, you have to imagine if Tord had it, he would have played it. So, Tord not having the KO, Vance needs to take a moment to figure out what is the most expendable member of his bench.
potentially that Oricorio. It's going to be thrown away there with the Collapse Stadium. Resources are so close. Even the Cresselia play, where you get another Psychic Pokemon into play, and then you can move all the damage and knock out that Meloetta.
Oh, can Tord? No, there's no way.
Finding a way to search out the Pokemon is the issue. You've already played your Stadium for the turn, so Lost Vacuum Counter and Artisan does not work.
No, it doesn't work. Super odd. Putting back, it looks like the Zacian V potentially, and the Luminions potentially reuse it next turn.
You can draw with the Reversal Energy with the Radiant Greninja.
You can.
And then if you draw into the Psychic Pokemon with the Zacian V, then you have an opportunity to go ahead and reuse, attack with that Cresselia. You can bounce those energies around.
Take a one prize KO this turn, potentially. That could be it for Tord. Yeah, try to attack with Moonglow Reverse. So use the Radiant Greninja, ditch the Reversal Energy, and try to find that. It would work for a one prize KO this turn.
This is going to be a big find if he can find it. Would love to find both of them!
And the Psychic Energy.
Huge!
This is going to yield toward a one prize turn, but the problem with this is that he leaves a one prizer active, and it's still in Vance's court at that point. Vance only would need a Gusting card in order to close out the game. Mew VMAX not being dealt with. It does need a way to retreat, however. Tord has to go for it. This is his line. He's thinking through it. Such a tough call. It has to be this, though. Collapse Stadium to the Lost Zone. Credit to Tord Reklev for finding this play. Such a niche situation that I can't imagine has come up.
So big here to find this. The energies are lined up. You can retreat the Mew, place all of the energies on each Psychic Pokemon in play. Zacian is going to be the one to look out for, though. 220 hit points.
So many energy in play as well, though, for Tord. You have to wonder where he goes from here on the next turn. Palpad able to put back Boss. That's his chance. Put this back. That's what he's going to need to close out the game next turn. Will not be able to get through a VMAX this game. It has to be a Boss KO on a Genesect or a Mew V. And he's going to take this KO. Moonglow Reverse. Move all the damage counters to the Meloetta. Take that out. And cross his fingers that Vance Kelly just doesn't have it.
Vance has been waiting patiently for the final turn of the match.
Moonglow Reverse moving all of these damage counters, placing them on the Meloetta. Tord Reklev pulls ahead, but now Vance is in the driver's seat. Hand shaking, making sure he understands the situation completely. Draw for turn, switch card, that can reset. He's got a ton of cards in hand. Power Tablet, Vance is playing quickly. Does he have the pieces? Switch card, moving the Mew VMAX into the active spot, and Boss's orders brings up the Zacian V. Vance Kelly, the 2023 Pokémon TCG World Champion!
Vance Kelly, 2023 Pokemon World Champion in the Masters Division. Tord Reklev wondering what could have been in a phenomenal match between both these players. Everyone leaving it on the line. Incredible play to find what could have been the most beautiful play we've ever seen to win a World Championship, but it was not enough as Vance held on with the Boss's orders and the Power Tablet.
Tord Reklev has found himself on many a final stage. He's found himself with a handful of second places, none stinging more than this one, as Vance Kelly has become our world champion. I think that dream of getting your deck printed is going to come true.
I'm picking up a copy.
Masterful play, both of our players. But in the end, +3 turns, not relevant. Vance Kelly able to win on turn number 3 of time. Kyle, wow. Absolute chills up here, man. That was unbelievable. The feeling in this room, absolutely electric, and none more elated, I'm sure, than our champion, Vance.
you think about what could have happened for Tord in that last game. It had to be Zacian V. It was the only Psychic Pokemon that he could bench. The Ralts were prized.
Right.
If he had any other Psychic Pokemon, he doesn't bench a liability, and then maybe he's the world champion. It all comes down to those small things in matches like this. Did everything he could, found the perfect play.
It was his one chance to win. It might have been a low percent, but he found it. He went for it. He got what he needed, but his opponent had just too many cards in hand. Tord was able to strike first this game, taking the knockout with that Zacian V. Vance able to tie things up. Tord unable to respond to the massive HP of Mew VMAX. Found almost everything he needed off this research. Was so incredibly close to piecing it together. Found his tech cards. Moonglow Reverse takes out that Meloetta, but Vance had too many cards in hand and everything he needed. No Fusion Strike systems necessary. And he is the world champion.
Wow. There's no words. There's really no words. That was an unbelievable finals here in Yokohama, Japan. It's everything that we wanted.
Yes.
2 decades of playing in the World Championships, and to close out like that, Vance Kelly.
In time. I mean, Vance as well. I mean, this was a true David and Goliath story. I mean, Vance comes from day one. He's not a super well-known player. You know, he's had solid finishes this year. He's played Mew VMAX all throughout the season, refined it consistently, adjusted it for the expected metagame. He finds himself getting through day one of Worlds, getting into top cut, winning top 8, winning top 4, beating Azul GG, by the way, and then facing off against the best player playing our game right now, Tord Reklev, in the finals. A mountain he was able to surmount.
You would have assumed that it was his accolades on the other side of the table with how cool, calm, and collected he was the entire match. Even closing out right there, just never changed the expression on his face the entire time. It's unreal that he can walk into the tournament and he's him.
He is absolutely him. And speaking of him, I cannot wait to hear from our champion. Let's get down to the stage. Anna, how's that champion feeling?
Let's find out. Vance, the casters were saying you seem calm and cool and collected. Are you calm and cool and collected?
Maybe just because it doesn't really seem real. But, you know, I was definitely nervous during those games. I think I maybe played the opening turns a little sloppy because of nerves. But, no, I feel good. And, you know, I'm sure my friends will, you know, help me have a lot of fun today after we leave.
I'm sure that's true. Talk to us about what it was like going into those final turns in time. How did you adjust your strategy as you did that?
You know, I wasn't really planning for it. We were both like kind of slow, like neither one of us plays super fast, so I thought maybe we'd go to time, but really I was just kind of playing a normal game and it worked out in game 3.
How did it feel to slap down that final boss's orders?
It felt pretty good. I was on edge because you know, I thought Tord was going to draw some stuff to kind of take the lead there, but it felt really good. It felt great.
Now and forever, you are a world champion. What does that mean to you?
You know, it's really cool. It's something that you aspire to. I started playing the game when I was pretty young, and you know, you always think it's like, what if I could do that one day? So it's a super cool accomplishment for sure.
What would you say to your young self if they were watching you on stage right now?
I don't know. Keep playing the game, I guess. Don't quit. Keep playing. Yeah.
Anyone out here that you want to say hello or thanks to in this moment?
Yeah, I got a lot of friends out there in the in the red shirts in the front. So shout out to all of them. Shout out to the friends back home as well. You know, individual people. I know there's some people watching stream. So like Pete Grigsby. Shout out to PJ Wallace. Yeah, man, if I shout out a lot of people, I'm just gonna forget and people get mad. But you know, Josh Clark and everybody else. Sorry, I can't, you know, in the moment can't remember everybody. So thanks.
It is a huge moment, and we are gonna let you go celebrate with those friends. We'll see you again for the trophy ceremony. But for now.